Yeah, he can move his arms, but he has a long way to go with the arms. Legs aren't moving. Okay. So the reason I'm asking about this is because one of the things that we know about gaming is it actually helps improve your visual spatial motor coordination. It actually can be really useful. So if he has any fine motor, you might want to consider, if he doesn't play video games, encouraging him to do it. Here's the other thing. Even if right now he's having a hard time with a lot of different motor movements, there is this great organization called Able Gamers. And what's great about them is they actually... oh, great. So, is he playing? Is he able to play? Because if he needs some accommodations or adaptive technology, this great, like I was starting to say, this great group called Able Gamers. Yeah, so this is Able Gamers. And the thing I love about them is their mission, which is to allow everybody to access video games regardless of their physical ability. So they do a bunch of different things. So, like, for example, they do peer counseling. If he's really struggling because he used to love playing games and now because of his arm movement he's not able to, or if he's had some vision stuff, they have peer counseling that actually actually helps relate with other peers that have different abilities. So that's one thing. The other thing is community and inclusion. I think that's what it is. So they actually have an internal support network for people with disabilities in the gaming world, as you can see here. And their whole goal is to make things... the whole goal is to make gaming accessible to everybody. And so they actually do totally different, a whole bunch of different things. They range from online inclusion, which is being visible and having groups of Discord or Twitch streams where you can actually see people that are differently able playing and seeing the technology they're using. That's one thing they do. The other things they do, let's see if I can see it here. They actually fund different forms of adaptive technology, like the stuff you see here. So you, for example, if you want, let's see which, I'm supporting a player with disabilities. That would be this one. So I'm a player with disabilities. Our goal is to support you. Have you and the person you supported playing games last? Yes. Are you currently playing games? Yes. How can we help with your play? My disability is challenging my gameplay and I want to learn what's out there. And so they're set, if it's a controller device, and for example, I would say gaming as a quadriplegic would probably be the closest thing, given what you've described about his point in rehabilitation. So they actually have all sorts of gaming equipment, style of play. They've got all sorts of solutions, and so and they have setups so that they. It has totally all these different accommodations and funding. That's what's beautiful about this, is they actually can help you build whatever adaptive technology that you need. And they are very used to rehabilitation, and they're really accessible to talk to. Now, I want to sort of caution you before you present this to your friend and say, hey, look, this is not, I know this isn't optimal. I know that what you are used to is you using your controller the way you did. But if these are other ways that you can access the gameplay while you're rehabilitating, why don't you take a look at this? Or why don't we take a look at it together? Now, you'll notice that they have a lot of different examples. But occasionally there may be images that are difficult for him to sort of tolerate, because somebody that's new to a change in functioning is going to really, see these images and feel regret or feel grief. So the thing that I would say about this, Kirk, is to put the bug in his ear, let him see that this is here, and that there's all sorts of accommodations, and that there's a range of support ranging from if he wants to talk with gamers that know what it's like to not have use of their arms or hands the way they used to, versus if he wants someone to help him try to set up an entire system so that he can like game as much as he wants to, and then after you put the bug in his ear about it, I would be gentle about it, and I would say, hey, I know that this may bring up or remind you of things that you can't do right now. That's not the point of this, but if it starts to depress you, then just put it down and come back to the site later. What I love about them is they do both peer counseling and concrete solutions. They actually set up in communities. They go into communities and they set up community gaming rooms that are disability accessible. Like if you have a youth center or some sort of community center, they go in and they actually design and build a gaming setup in the community centers, because the goal is to have as many different people with as many different visible and invisible disabilities see that they can game. And so when we look at a kid playing, it's hard not to have the ableist approach of, oh gosh, wouldn't it be nice if he could use a controller like everyone else? That's our ableism, right? A kid that has been born and raised with different abilities looks at that and sees a totally different picture. Sees like, oh, this is something I can do. I can use this. So it's going to be, it may be a struggle or it may not be for him. I'm just suggesting that you be prepared, just because if you're anything like me, when you have an idea or you want to help somebody, you can kind of go running in and say, hey, look at this is the best thing since sliced bread. Look at all these people that have different abilities or disabilities and they can do this. And then you're going to be like surprised because he may get overwhelmed or bummed out. So it's a great resource. The website's not going anywhere. And anyone that's listening, if you are looking for a good charity to donate to, I 100% endorse Able Gamers. They are amazing. They've been working in this space for, I think, over a decade now, and I just think the world of them. So this is a wonderful resource. I wish more people knew about it. And Kirk, I'm glad that you were able to, going back to our conversation 2 or 3 streams back when you visited, I know you were hesitant about bringing in something that wasn't positive, and I think Twitch streamers really put pressure on ourselves to always be positive and upbeat and the glass is half full. And look at what happens when you're actually able to be real and not focus only on the positive and say, hey, I've got a friend that's got this major setback in his life, and this gives me the opportunity to remember and give you some resources. So it is okay to not always be positive about stuff, and I'm glad you came back, and I'm glad you keep coming back and checking in with us about your friend.